Hello, this is another chapter of AP Computer Science with the Arupe Virtual Learning Institute, AVOI. My name is John Maxwell. As we look to the week, we slowed it down a little bit to go over Boolean and string review a bit more to get a little more practice. So, let's look. The work in front of you is to look through Chapter 8 up until and including 8.6. You don't need to go any further with sections 8.7 and beyond. What we have are three assignments, two from Java methods and eight problems in coding BAT out of 9 in the Logic 2 category. We also have our first FRQ sample in the AP Classroom site. So let's go directly to Java Methods 4 and show you a little bit about it. Okay, so here's a problem number 4. You can pause the video to read the problem before we go on. But basically what they want to do is take the slashes out, rearrange the month and the day in part A and put dashes in place of the slashes. So 5/31/2019 turns into 31-05/2019. And you would complete that part simply by using the substrings, perhaps the index of, to find the slashes, and reconstruct the string using concatenation that was correctly identified last night in class. Part B is more general, to take a one-digit month and or a one-digit date and convert it with leading zeros. So these are not numbers. But what's interesting is it says use the program in exercises string test, which is included with the assignment. Let's take a look at string test. Well, it's quite something. I'll run it. And it produces a dialog box. You enter in your string, let me see, 05/03/2019, and really nothing happens, okay, because you haven't implemented the project. Well, I want to say this is kind of neat, right? It creates a lovely box where you can enter in data, courtesy of JFrame and its components, JLabel, JText, and so forth. They also have action listeners, and so when you hit enter, an event occurs. Okay, none of this you have to know for the AP exam. You'll never have to write code with it, but I'm a firm believer in look it over. You can tweak it if you want, change the color yellow to blue or something like that. But really what happens is on line 51 you're going to find that you put the code to process the string that's entered, basically doing the work of the problem. I've also added a method header down here in case you wanted to do the work in a separate method. You could call it public static string process date string input. That method is not in the original file, so if you've watched this video or attended the class, you might know that that's where the work goes for problem number 4. Now, we also are going to continue our exploration into logic. And so what I want to add here is that DeMorgan's law is not something that we covered, but it goes something like this. If you have not, which negates an expression with an and, it's equivalent in every case of A and B, where A and B are Boolean values, to not A or not B. And likewise, not A or B, the expression negated um, where A and B are, or B are examined is equivalent to not A or not B. A student said a long time ago, this is the way he remembered it. Basically, you distribute the not sign and change the logical operator, whether it's and to or to and. It's the distribution of the logical operator. So let me run this and show you what occurs. Oop, missed the run button. So when A is false and B is true, it's true, true. This is what happens here. When A is false and B is true, this is what happens here. Let's try it and try to trip it up. Run it again. When they're both true, they have equivalency. Run it again, and we have DeMorgan's law. So why is DeMorgan's law popular? It certainly isn't something that you're going to use in professional coding. It's something that you have to jump through in order to take an introductory class. And on the multiple choice, there is an R, questions always, number 14 it seems, always, testing equivalency. And the application of DeMorgan's law will help you. What is equivalent to this? Not is even and is positive, okay? Not is even or not is positive. Prime is not part of the equation, okay? So the answer is A. It basically distributes the not sign and changes the logical operator. Okay, another problem from another past exam is again number 14, so you can look forward to number 14. Same thing. What is the equivalent of not A and B or C? Okay, and that would be not A or B or C. So we're actually distributing the not sign and changing the logical operator. So that's DeMorgan's law. It's pretty simple once you learn to apply it, and you can hopefully get 1 out of 42 questions correctly by knowing DeMorgan's law. It's a good thing to review before you go into the exam. Now, that's DeMorgan's law, okay? So what I wanted to do is actually log on to the AP site, and unfortunately I didn't do that before I started this video, so bear with me as I log in. And hey everyone, here's my password. Oh, it's all asterisks. Okay, very well. AWS Outlook. Go to AP Classroom. This is what it looks like on the teacher side. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to have a progress check. So I just basically want to show you what it is. A good question was, when I write this code, do I have to write main and public class and stuff? No, it just says write a statement that uses the string method of index to find the period in email and assign it to a variable. So here I go. Int period pause. I always like to name it, and the object is email dot index of. And what we have is we're looking for the first period, and that's one part of a successful answer. And then the other one is find the @ sign using the index of. And so you just answer specifically without trying to develop a full program in this progress check. But a little along the way, it asks you about math.random to generate a number between 0 and the length of first name. Okay, so here's math.random. Okay, so it is a num. Okay, although math.random returns a double, and it is a parameterless argument. Okay, so I'm going to multiply it by name. Well, I lost the ball here. Name dot length, or whatever variable it is. Okay, so this will produce a double because math.random produces a double. But what the issue is that we're looking for an int. So what I'm going to do is cast it. It was correctly identified in last night's class that it needs to be casted. Okay, so what does math.random return? Okay, so put a comma in here and it'll return a number between 0 to 0.9999999. You get the idea. It goes almost to 1 but not including 1. So what does that mean? Well, if we have a real low number, 0.0001, returned by math.random times the length, let's say it's 10, 0.0001 times 10 will be an incredibly small number. Casted to an int, it will truncate to the number 0. Okay, let's say name.length is 10 and we get a number returned by math.random like 0.9999 times 10. That will be something close to 10 when truncated will be 9. And so we'll get a range of appropriate indices in the string. So math.random is something you need to know, okay? So take the time to understand what it returns and how to develop a range of random integers. It will be a testable subject, so focus here on math.random. You can do part of it and then return back. Your work will be saved, and then you can complete the other parts so you don't have to complete it all in one sitting. Okay, be sure to read the question carefully, to get all the information. But a recommendation is to read the problem first so that you know why you're looking at the question. And that applies to all FRQs, free response questions. Read what they're asking for. Always read the question, even on the multiple choice, before looking at the code, because you may read the whole problem and then the question is, the code doesn't work as intended in a multiple choice. What is the problem? And you've been reading the problem thinking this is a good code, right? And then you realize you're looking at it from a different lens, trying to look at it as to why it would break. Okay, so I'm going to go through the last thing, okay, real quick, which would be la 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 palooza, and this is an advanced look at loops. So that's the next module. I believe in just giving you a tease here. This is a for loop right here, and it has 3 parts. And the parts are start when x is 0, stop when x becomes 21, and change x by 1. And I can also do this, x plus plus. Start, stop, and change are the 3 ingredients of every for loop. Start at 0, go to 21, change by 1. So here we're looking at math.pow raising 2 to the power of the loop counter variable x. Let me run it. And here we have the powers of 2. X is 0. Is it less than 20? No, no problem. Yes, it is less than 20. 2 to the 0 is 1. X plus plus makes X 1. Okay, 2 to the 1 is 2. X plus plus makes it 2. X is now 2. Is it less than 20? Yes. So we'll raise it to the power 2 to the power of 2. It becomes 4. X plus plus makes X 3. It is less than or equal to 20. So we raise X to the power of 3 and it's 8, and so on and so forth. And here are the first 20 powers of 2. So we're tying back here to something that we covered in the first module, the powers of 2 being the basis of binary. So I'm going to take this one away here and skip the middle one altogether, okay, and just show you how a string can be applied to a loop. And coding bat string 2, here comes a warning of deer in headlight, right? Rely on string processing using loops. So we have to complete the next unit before we return back to string and loop through them. So now I've created a string called la 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 palooza. Sounds like a Willy Wonka word. I think that was the inspiration when I created this program. So I know that the indices run to 0 to me_along.length, and I want to output each value I plus 1. Remember the substring starting at indice I and going to I plus 1, which is really one last, starting and ending at indice I, and adding a little space. So let me run it and show you what it looks like. La la palooza, and the spaces in between each character. So this is accessing each element in the string, okay, using a loop. Again, the critical parts: start I equals 0, stop while we stay away from the length, recalling that the last index in a string is 1 minus the length, and then going up by 1. So here's an example of a loop being applied to a string. There's a lot more to learn about loops, but this has just been a preview. Thank you for watching. Reach out if you have any issues.